What's up, everybody? Welcome to Fantasy Sports Now. Today we're bringing you the injury report for 3:30. This is going to be the last one before the season starts. I'm probably going to keep doing these videos Tuesday, Friday, like I've been doing throughout the season. We'll see how it goes. If everybody wants to keep seeing it, then great. And if you do want to see it, let me know. If not, we're going to adjust into something else, and we'll still make it entertaining for you guys. So before we get into the content, I just want to say I appreciate everything you guys have done to sub and comment. And if you want to sub, sweet. Let's get into it. Okay, first I just got a list of names and not the actual, the screenshots, if you will, of guys that I kind of had on here a lot that you probably already know about. So I'm just going to rattle those off right now. Kirby Yates, Tommy John, he's done, out for the season. Eloy, got a second opinion. He's going to be out at least 6 months, it sounds like. It's more likely probably the year. I'm not banking on that whatsoever. Carlos Carrasco is out at least 8 weeks. It sounds like it's probably going to be more if you ask me, but at least 8 weeks with a hamstring and elbow issue. Ketel Marte, who I probably should have put on here because I've had him on here every single week, sounds like he's going to be ready for opening day. There's not a whole lot of update on his actual ankle, but it sounds like he's going to be ready, and they're just kind of giving him the baby treatment. Drew Pomeranz is one of the guys that I had initially on one of my lists. It sounds like he's actually going to be okay, but he is going to be in a fight for his job, essentially, to be that closer. So we got to keep an eye on that one. But let's jump into the actual recent stuff. It looks like Luke Voit has a torn meniscus in his knee, which is not what you want to see as a Yankees fan or a fantasy owner. If you haven't had your draft yet, then obviously you got to keep this in mind here. He's going to be out until probably early May is what they're saying. For me, it always takes a little bit longer if you get injured earlier in the season because you have to get back into like game shape ready. You lost some spring. Luke Voit obviously gets hurt late, so he's got a lot of spring in him. So that's okay. And the good thing about this injury, if there is a good thing, is that he's not like a stolen base kind of guy. He's not an outfielder that absolutely needs to be out there sprinting a lot to get value. He's a home run guy where obviously you need your knee to hit home runs, but you don't need to be fast to be relevant. I guess what I'm getting at. And so Luke Voit, he's going to be down for a while. It's a big blow for us fantasy owners, and he's probably a guy. If he gets dropped, you want to keep in mind. You want to keep him in mind in a couple weeks here as people start dropping him. Next is Ohtani. He came out of the game yesterday, but turns out it was just a blister. This is great news, I guess, in a way, because when we think of Ohtani getting hurt, we think of his elbow, because that's what it's been the last 3 years. I think the Angels are going to baby him big time. I think this is just another reason to baby him. A blister is not that bad of an injury. It always takes longer than you think it does as a pitcher, but it's not one of these things that requires an IL. They might skip his first start. That might be the extent of that. My guess is he'll probably be fine. They'll probably pitch him like 8th game or something like that because they're going to hard baby him anyway. So we'll keep an eye on it and see when he's actually going to pitch. Next is the one I'm actually more concerned about is George Springer. He's had this oblique problem, and it's going on about at least a week now. And, it's an oblique, which really impacts your swing a lot. And I think that they just gave him a big amount of money. This says that he's going to be a coin flip for opening day. I think that he's more likely to go on the IL to start the season because I don't think they're going to want to just throw their big free agent in there to potentially hurt himself even more. It doesn't make like financial sense to me. So I think that they're going to wait until he's pretty much 100% to go because you do not want an oblique that lingers around. And that's exactly what's going to happen if they rush this back. So for me, I think he's going to start the season on the IL. So keep an eye out for that one because that's going to be interesting. A couple other IL guys. Austin Nola, if you own him, is going on the IL. And it sounds like he fractured his finger, which I didn't really realize, which is obviously not good as a catcher. But it sounds like he was able to catch, but he's not able to grip a bat. So I take that for what you will. But the facts are that he's going to be down for a little while until that finger heals. So keep that in mind here. He's probably in that area of cuttable to get somebody else here. Eduardo Rodriguez. They're not sure what to do with him yet. I think he's going on the IL. He's got this dead arm. He was able to pitch a bullpen session. It says here 36 pitches, so that's really good. It doesn't really mention velocity in this. it says that he kind of felt pretty good or whatever, but the whole dead arm thing, usually they relate that to like, normally you throw 97, now you're throwing 89. What is wrong with you? So normally that is related to like a velocity, and a lot of times it's related to the elbow, and sometimes it leads to Tommy John. Not always though, so I'm optimistic here, but I still think that the IL is probably the most likely scenario for Rodriguez to start the season. Next, we're going to Trent Grisham, who is going to start the season on the IL. He's got the hamstring issue. This is kind of similar to Springer for me, because for me, with Springer, it's the oblique. It's going to linger. Hamstrings are the same way. They linger. You hurt it once, it just sits there and it festers in your leg. It's weird. And it comes back, and you can't play 100%. So I think this is the right call. Get him healthy, get him 100%, and then get him out there so this doesn't linger throughout the season. It's the same thing that I think they'll do with Springer, but they did it already with Grisham here. Soroka is obviously going to start the season on the DL. This is a guy that I didn't realize would be out for as long as he was. So they're saying everything is looking good, which is great. And it sounds like he'll be back in the rotation late April. He's starting his spring training sessions now. I had just thought that it was going to be much sooner and he was going to be closer to like early April than late April. But the facts are the facts. Late April, if he's not owned in your league, I would add him. If you're going into the draft and people are avoiding him, add him and then put him on the DL, because he does have absolute ace potential if he is out there. So there's that. Big name here, Juan Soto. I had a draft where I was at the top of the draft and didn't take Juan Soto because of this, despite the fact that everything sounds good. Obviously, when like Trout and Betts are there, why take the guy who might be hurt? So I went with Betts in this case. But it sounds like he's going to be okay. It's just something to keep an eye on, because he's obviously a superstar. He's obviously the top of the draft kind of guy, and he's kind of got this weird calf thing going on. Initially, I wasn't going to even put this on there, but it sounds serious enough that it at least needs to be on here. So keep that in mind as we kind of go forward. I'll be curious to see what happens there. Anthony Santander, Springer 2.0 here. Sounds like he's got an oblique problem as well, and it sounds like last year he had a season-ending oblique problem, so I don't see any way he doesn't start the season on the IL. It says consider him day to day, and maybe he has a good recovery, but if you're just coming off of surgery and you're hurt in the same areas again, yeah, I'm going to be careful with you, especially as the Orioles. Santander had a really good season. I'm gonna baby this a little bit, because those obliques, man, I'm telling you, it's not where you want to be. Leclerc, I guess we'll say we called it here on Fantasy Sports Now. Unfortunately for him, Tommy John is what's going to happen, and that it is what it is, guys. We kind of knew that was coming. Unfortunately for him, they still don't really know what's going to happen with the closer situation. So this is one that we'll probably want to watch the real games and see if anybody shakes out of the tree a little bit here. Kim is going to start the season on the IL as well, which is really a big blow for St. Louis, because I feel like their pitching is really going down fast. I mean, it kind of alludes to that here, is a lot of these guys are already out, and Wainwright's up there in age, and it's just one of these things where it's like we kind of were hoping to have a depth starting pitching team, and it doesn't seem like that's happening. So it sounds like he's not going to miss that much time, which is good for St. Louis. He's going to be like mid-April returning, and I think that there's not really much reason to think that that's not going to happen. So it's his back, which I did not mention. Back injuries are kind of weird, but I think they're usually ones that you recover from. And speaking of back, I think the last one here is Sonny Gray. Sounds like he's actually doing really well. He might miss like one turn in the rotation and then be back. So if you drafted him and took the risk after he got hurt, and I think that it's going to pay off for you, because I think that he's going to be fine. Like one spot in the rotation is not a big deal, guys. So look out for that. If he somehow is out there and people don't have him, pick him up, because he's going to be fantastic. And I think he's not going to have a lingering issue. Anyway, guys, that's the report for Tuesday, 3:30. I'm looking forward to the season, and we will see you next time.